Father, you speak to us in so many ways, and when we're least expecting it. Father, I thank you for the music of our faith. I thank you for the one who brings it to us so beautifully. In Jesus' name, amen. We're still going on with James' rant. If he were on Facebook, he would evermore be letting you have it by now. And we're going to go one more week after this week. But the thing about James and his rant, James is right. And when I rant on Facebook, sometimes I'm wrong. And when some other people rant on Facebook, sometimes they're wrong. But James, in his rant, is speaking the words of his brother. And his brother never spoke wrong. Hear James as we continue, where he says, "Who is wise and understanding among you? Let him show by good conduct that his works are done in the meekness of wisdom. But if you have bitter envy and self-seeking in your hearts, do not boast and lie against the truth. This wisdom does not descend from above, but is earthly, sensual, and demonic. For where envy and self-seeking exist, confusion and every evil thing are there. But the wisdom that is from above is first pure, then peaceable, gentle, willing to yield, full of mercy and good fruits, without partiality and without hypocrisy. Now the fruit of righteousness is sown in peace by those who make peace." And then James jumps down a little bit and he says, "You ask and do not receive, because you ask amiss, that you may spend it on your pleasures." And then he wags his finger one more time and he says, "Draw near to God, and he will draw near to you." This is the word of God for the people of God. Thanks be to God. There's a lot said about the 1960s. And the 60s fomented so much of where we find ourselves sociologically today. But I'm glad that I was a child of the 60s. I had a good time. And I spent a world of time right down the corner, 2 doors down from Quay at Central High School. Just 3 years. That's all it took me to get through there. But I spent a lot of time down there. And I spent a lot of Friday nights in the gym down there. And I spent a lot of Friday nights at Sacred Heart. And I spent a lot of nights at Little Flower at CYO. And I went to dances at Central. You could probably hear us play because we made a lot of racket in at CYO. And the things that went on there. And Friday night during the 60s was so much fun. So much fun. And one of the things I remember as much as anything was something that we called, well, you and Amy may have had it at Briarcrest. No, not Briarcrest. You had that. Was the Battle of the Bands. And what that was at Central or Little Flower or Sacred Heart or where that didn't even happen at Ellis Auditorium was on Friday night there would be 3 or 4 bands come to whatever venue, and each band would play a 3 or a 4 song set, and the crowd of teenagers would go crazy, and the noise level was unbelievable. And after each band had played their set, then the judges would come. And they would put their minds together. It's kind of like American Idol or The Voice or something like this, only they didn't have Simon. And they would announce the winner of the Battle of the Bands. And invariably, when that Battle of the Bands was announced, wherever we were, at Central, at Ellis Auditorium, at Little Flower, a group would walk out, I'm so happy, and there would be this large group that would boo and hiss. And at that point in time, you wadded up your Coke cup and you threw it. at the judges or whatever, because that group would dislike the finding of the judges. And it would boil down to this thing. It would degenerate in the group whose band had lost the competition, that actually it was the personal preference of those judges and not really who was best. Well, let's go from the 1960s to today. In today's worldview, life itself, how we live, is just another instance of personal preference. How do I want to do things? Rather than a meaningful judgment about the actual merit or about the value of anything. A lot of people see the world we live in as just being what it is. It contains things. The world contains experiences that some people don't prefer. But some people do prefer those same things and same experiences. And this type of thinking, this existential type of thinking, has nothing to say about how things ought to be. Now, how many of us in our own little lives look around sometimes at how things are today and cluck and think, I really don't think that's the way it's intended to be. You know, you just sort of look and see. There are modern philosophers today. Excuse me, modern philosophers. William James is one of them. Richard Gorty is another one, who say that the pragmatism of our modern world insists that there are no absolute standards which to measure choices of right or wrong. We don't even measure choices of better or worse. They say that there is no black or white. There are only our responses, our personal responses, that are based on our perceptions, my perception, your perception, of what is best. And we give so little value and so little heed to what those around us might believe. And when this happens, friends, when it becomes we're basing it all on what we think, then we are creating our own wisdom. Okay? That's where James is coming to. And the book of James, he tries so hard to refute the claims of personal preference. James distinguishes, and let me make this clear, between two types of wisdom. That which is from above, and that which does not come from above. There is this loud trumpet call between the two wisdoms, godly wisdom and human wisdom. James stresses the importance of guidelines for proper conduct which make a person wise. And at the same time, here's his rant, he rants against certain conduct that's rampant in our world today, that sabotages true wisdom and undermines human living. James ticks off a bullet list, of objective, not objectionable, objective qualifications for the wise person, and he gives us a litany in the scripture that I read of do's and don'ts. The author isn't standing there either. And get this, James isn't standing there with a big smile on his face and saying that good and evil are personal tastes. James is saying there are standards. He's walking across the stage of all of the scripture, and he's holding a code of conduct, and he's raising his hand in that code of conduct high in the air, and he's shouting, This is the winner in the battle of the wisdoms, and this is the loser. Do you know what that code of conduct is, folks? It's Scripture. It's the Bible. It's what God has given to us to help form our lives into what He wants us to be. And unfortunately, the words of James in his letter collide with our modern mind and our modern way of thinking. And so frequently, we're tempted to boo and to hiss and throw whatever we can find that's in our grasp at someone who would dare try to foist upon me, upon us, a do or a don't list. We want to do only the things that please us. It's an all about me mindset. There's a religious author, Elizabeth Ochtemeyer, and she noted, above all else these days, we Christians want to be loving. Right on. She says we want to forgive and we want to accept people as they are. All of that is true. But then she points out the problem there. Indeed, she says, we have come to the point in our society where we will forgive almost any wrong and accept almost any lifestyle in the name of Christian love. Forgetting Christ's purposes, forgetting Christ's words, by the same token, we expect to be forgiven and accepted no matter how we live. You know what she said? Let's cut to the chase. We want our cake, and we want to eat it too. We want to do what we want to do. We're more concerned with being politically correct, with not stepping on anybody's toes, than we are with fulfilling the teachings that Jesus brought to us over 2,000 years ago. And James says that not all wisdom is true wisdom, and that not all wisdom comes from above. And we do ourselves and all of those who we live with and are around us no great favor when we pretend that the wisdom of the world is God's wisdom. It's not. And James recognizes very readily the battle of the wisdoms. Not the battle of the titans, the battle of the wisdoms. And he says, while we humans have responsibility and we have options regarding the character of our lives, James knows the difficulties that we face. I dare say not a one of you, if I asked you how easy life had been, would say, really easy. If I asked you how difficult are the choices you have been called to make over your lifetime, I dare say some of you would say, doggone difficult. You know, nobody promised us a road was hard. James knows that. And he goes on to say that we can't waffle. We've got to take a stand. Spiritual death, he says, is a genuine possibility. And our cravings for the material things of the world, the stuff that we have amassed, can take over our lives and win the battle of our love for God, and we become more interested in what we've got than who we are. James has an unmitigated gall to suggest that submission to God, our Creator, produces just a little bit more than good behavior. It produces true wisdom. For both Jews and Christians in James' time, the concept of wisdom was a central thing. Wisdom was an important part of Jewish life. Wisdom was an important part of Christian life. And therefore, there are certain passages that describe wisdom as if she had human qualities and were a living person or an extension of God. James focuses James focuses on the constant companionship of God or wisdom to help all of us